And as I was doing that, this like boldness came up in me where the season of me being weakest was the time that I was the most bold. I would go up and there'd be a woman next to me who literally would be like seizing and like could not stop, and they were about to come over and like basically give her a medicine that would help calm that down, and I would pray and the seizures would stop.
When deep love is mentioned, immediately the variety of people that are a volunteer, or even myself, I just fall into this trap, which is that deep love is an organization, deep love is a ministry. Terms that we've really invented in the last few hundred years within especially the western side of the world, where all of a sudden we hear a church and then we associate it with a place. We realize that others, the body of Christ, those that are listening right now, would hopefully learn what deep love is, which is an ask, it's a call, it's a reminder that they are surrounded by opportunities to love deeply, love well, and love authentically.
What's up, y'all? This is Chase.
This is Raul.
And welcome back to the Deep Love Podcast. And today we have with us someone who's very special, someone who's served with us in many different capacities for probably close to a decade now.
Yeah.
She's a sister, she's a friend to many in our community, a dancer, professional dance teacher, among much else. And she's someone who we've seen her story grow over the course of the years that we've known her. And even before we met her, there's a long story that we're excited to get into today and be able to just share the testimony.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Madi, as a friend and almost I would say even family to me, because I'm so close to you and everyone in your world, I'm tempted to want to go right into the crux of it all, because I want to navigate through things that I am very personally aware of, because I got to even walk that out with you. Some of it that I just got so maybe close to because you allowed me to understand. And some of it that's even empathetically part of my own quote unquote journey, not exactly, but somewhat understand of what I've walked through in my health and in my own journey. But before we get to hospitalizations or even just the mire, suffering and hurt, and eventually hope and redemption that your story I know tells and reaches, I think, and that's why we're here, I would love for you to take us through this kind of conversation, through this question of like, what do you do when you've set your hope in this dream that for you, I think at some point, you can certainly correct us through this conversation, was why, I mean, I would say largely on dance, this desire for the creative art side of the world, the expression of probably dance mostly, but I would say anything that's creative expression through what we're given through the Lord. But I would say that the Lord element kind of developed, evolved, matured as I got to, and we're going to hopefully get into today. But all of a sudden you have this pivotal moment where everything gets pivoted, and hope, and in some capacity, I wouldn't say ruined, because that's not the right word, but I would say wildly expectations get just shifted, and your world in some capacity gets shifted to a point where you may think that this dream will never come to fruition. And so I know that you wanted us to kind of go to kind of that origin story. So why don't you take our audience, for those that are going to listen, so they can kind of gauge at who is Madison, how did this start? You know, do you have that traditional upbringing? Do you have this wild upbringing? We've had people all over the map here. Kind of give us that origin story about who's Madi, and hopefully get to that point at some point here in the conversation.
Yep. Yeah, well, thank you guys so much for having me on. I'm grateful and honored, and yeah, just grateful to have had the history that I do with you guys, and to trust y'all and to see what God has already done. But yeah, I am one of 3 kiddos. My parents are Rob and Jennifer Winter, and I love and honor them so much. And growing up, they absolutely raised me knowing the Lord and knowing His Word and in the church. Yeah, that was something all growing up that we did every Sunday. I wouldn't say that I necessarily had personal relationship with Him, but it was definitely a part of our routine every weekend. And amidst that as well, when I was 2 years old, I would say that's when the arts and the passion and the love for the arts really developed. I know that it was in me from the beginning, from when I was born. It was something God placed in me. But I remember my mom telling me I think I was in preschool, and they did a little dance or something, and they had a performance, and I was like front and center and had no fear whatsoever, had so much passion and life brought into me. And my mom was like, oh, okay, this is something we need to foster. We want to pour into, we want to steward. This is something God's given her. We want to see it develop. And so, yeah, from the age of 2, I was dancing, and just each year picked up more and more classes. And yeah, when I was probably around 7, I started venturing more into competitive dance, where I was picking up more hours at the studio, and loved it. And it was a secular dance studio. So at that point in time, I had no idea, no clue that dance and worship or dance and the Lord could even be a possibility combined. I would say my relationship or religion was very separate from dance for me. And but I do remember having encounters with the Lord in church, specifically in worship at a young age, where I believe I was probably in 2nd grade when I gave my life to the Lord, and that was at church. And I remember being in worship and looking around, and like nobody had their hands raised, but I felt it innately in me to do that. And I remember even having a friend next to me and her like looking over, I had my arms raised and her looking over at me and kind of like making a weird face and feeling a little embarrassed, but I just did not even care. Yeah, and so I would say there was a heart of worship that I didn't know how to foster in me, and then also simultaneously dance was going on, but the two were not partnered together. However, I think a major turning point for me was in 4th grade. I remember going to church camp, and it was after service, and I, more than ever before, I was feeling the presence of the Lord and was feeling his pursuit of me. And it was the very last night, and the preacher or whoever was speaking gave us the opportunity to accept the Holy Spirit, and specifically to accept the gift of our spirit language. And they said, whoever wants to do this can stay in the room. Everybody else, you can exit and go back to your bunk. And there was only maybe a handful of us, and I don't think any of my friends really stayed, but I was like hungry and I was ready for it. And I opened my mouth as we prayed to receive, and I received my prayer language in 4th grade. And I remember going back to my bunk that night and laying in bed and just like being so scared of it going away. And so I literally was praying in my prayer language until I fell asleep. However, I think what's sad when I look back on that is I was never taught or disciplined in like, what does that do? What is that for? How do you use that? How do you grow that? And so it was something that, it was a gift that I was given, but it was never like necessarily fostered or grown. Yeah, so. And
so from there, we can continue with the story here in a sec, but what would you say was like your identity and the growth in that like particular moment? If you go back to it, like who was Madi at that point?
Yeah.
And growing up, the arts and dance was a big part of that cultivation.
Yes.
Whenever in 4th grade, whenever that Holy Spirit moment happened, how would you say your identity was at that time and how it grew?
Yeah. I would say that I think it surprised me because I think it was the first time I think I had separated dance from my identity in that moment. I think it was the first time I ever saw, oh, there's actually more to this life than just dance. Like there's something relational about this. There's something that God has apart from just these different gifts and different things that we do, where he actually cares intimately about me. And I can't remember necessarily how I walked that out. However, I do believe there was like a conviction that was placed in me for purity at that age that I saw God protect me in the dance world, specifically being in a secular dance studio, where I remember having moments that I knew I can't compromise in this moment, or this is something that I'm just not going to participate in, or I could tell like, oh, they're asking us to do this dance move, but this doesn't, something feels wrong with this, and I couldn't put words to it or language to it, but I knew something was off. So I think that's the only tangible, I guess, language I can put to that.
Would you say maybe that you mentioned your mother and your father raised you in the church, and we can attest that they're great mother and father.
Love them.
And likely did a great job at protecting you without sheltering you.
Yes.
And so projecting that onto your relationship with the Father and how he protects his sons and daughters whenever he can. Like as you were going into the secular, as you were present in the secular world, did you feel that protection from the Lord while also like your own intentionality with your purity? Like, I don't know, was there anything in that that comes to mind that you want to speak on?
I think I definitely saw the protection in my parents, but specifically their protection, I think, in them recognizing what I carried without me recognizing that, and stewarding that, and like really fostering that, and like them backing that a lot of like, oh, we see this in her. And I remember my mom, my parents did, I think at that point, they put me in like a church camp at the church that I was going to. It was like an arts church camp. And I remember really flourishing in that moment, but also at the same time, this is a little bit off of your question, but I do remember thinking to myself, like, okay, this is awesome, but the excellence is not there. And I think being where I am now, which we're not there yet in our conversation, but I can look back and say, wow, thank you, God, that has grown to where that is more established now. And I think I'll finish there because I don't want to skip ahead.
Yeah.
What would you say, considering I think there's an audience that maybe will understand when you say secular dance studio, secular arts, and that word will just go right over their head.
Sure.
Like, walk the audience, walk the person, and walk us through this like understanding of like I was in a secular dance studio. I was not in kind of this place where I'm at now, where you know my relationship with Christ and my expression of what I'm doing work hand in hand. As a matter of fact, one informs the other, as I've learned now, because I've learned about your world. Like, walk them through what that means, considering where you're at in your story, so they can understand that.
Yeah. So secular dance studio, there may be people in the studio that have a faith, but it is not the mission or the focus of the studio. So the music that is used is not going to always be pure. It is maybe going to be music that is of the world, meaning it's what the world loves to hear. It's maybe pop music, or even uses language that is not necessarily the most edifying language. Dance moves, you're not as considerate. I would say, I'll hone it on this. There's not the values of Scripture and the values of purity and of knowing. It matters what our eyes are seeing, what we're taking in. It matters how we're stewarding our bodies as the temple of the Holy Spirit. It matters the heart behind why we're dancing. There is very much so a performance mentality, very much so a lot of perfectionism, a lot of competition. It's more so the focus of what can I get and how can I be seen, rather than what can I give and how can I make his name known. So there's that very much so difference in that element. And then of course, it's mostly centered on the dance element of how good you are at what you are doing, rather than the heart of the dancer.
As you always cover the performance element versus the expression of what you're actually trying to reach, which is your audience, which is Christ, not either an auditorium or a stadium, or in many places, considering you've been to these very sought after places like New York and LA and such, and I know Chase is wildly connected. It reminds me of a scripture, you know, Philippians 4:8, but before that, you know, the one that's most quoted is Philippians 4:13, which is, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, which is so wildly misquoted, meaning it kind of gives people the permission to think that they can do anything and everything under the name of Christ.
Right.
When in Philippians 4:8, and it ties into what you're saying, it says that all those things that he's talking about is, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there's anything worthy of praise, think about these things. That is the things that we can do all things through Christ, meaning these incredible performance from musicians to dancers, and the creative expression goes on. Really that glorifies God, as 1 Corinthians 10:31, right? Do all things to the glory of God, nor eat nor drink, no matter what we do, put him as your focal point, is really, in my view, what I'm hearing you say. Does that make, does that really go in line with that?
Absolutely.
And go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm interested at the intersection of this, of you're growing up in this like non-Christian dance setting,
Yeah.
yet the Lord is keeping you pure, and your parents are very intentional with that. And so how is it that you think, or you felt, that dance like was uniquely capturing your heart
Mm-hmm.
while you were still in whatever awareness you had at the time, like
Mm-hmm.
pursuing the Lord to like the best of your ability. Like what did that intersection look like, and why did dance have like such an important role?
Yeah. Honestly, I think without me knowing it, it was the way that God was revealing himself to me. His passion, his love for me was in the amount of love that I had for dance, because I can see that now where I have an understanding for that more. So I think he was pursuing me in any way he could. And for me, that was in dance. That was where he was meeting me. And I didn't, at that point in time, it was still religion rather than relationship. Absolutely, no doubt about it. And so there hadn't been a full, like, I would say, like, communing that was happening. It was very separate for sure, still at that point.
Yeah, I love it though, because something that I want us to like hone in on, and that was interesting to me as I was in Mexico the last few days, was just how the Lord can speak through things that are not particularly Christian
Yes.
in our season of life or in what we're consuming. There's this writer that I was reading over the course of the trip, Mary Oliver, who she's probably most popular, prominent American poet ever, likely.
Wow.
Was in like the late 1900s, and then she passed away in 2019. But from the little bit of research that I did, she was Unitarian Universalist, so like not biblical belief, and very universalist. Everyone can come to the Lord however they want in that way. Maybe she died a different faith, but that's a little bit of research that I'm setting this up. It was still so evident in her poetry that like the Lord was pursuing her, and even she had this natural curiosity about like the transcendent truths within the Word that was speaking to, that the Lord was speaking to me through.
Yeah.
There was like this one line of like, oh wow, how my love for the world and how my love for you, Lord, are having such a long conversation in my heart. It's like, that's an insane line from someone who's like not a Christian yet speaks to the transcendent nature of the Lord and how just true he is in our hearts. And so I'm grateful that you're detailing to the level that you're able to articulate how the Lord can pursue us even whenever we're not in these traditional Christian settings.
Yeah.
And for people, the encouragement I want people to take away is to not discount like the art or the opportunities to serve or the opportunities to display righteousness in everyday settings that are maybe outside the church that we don't think the Lord is present in.
Yeah.
But he actually is, if we come to those things with a place of curiosity and a desire of like, Holy Spirit, where are you in this moment? And I want to know more about you.
Yes.
So.
And I think to comment on that as well, I feel like the Lord's also revealing to me of just there, even at that stage where I was still in religion and just did not even have much relationship with him, I still was exuding him on stage. There was a light that was being shown that was inevitable, that I remember audience members coming up to me afterwards and being like, we could not take our eyes off of you. The joy you carry, the light you carry, all those things. I had no idea at the time that was God, but looking back, absolutely, he gets all the glory for that moment. He gets all of that. So he's going to use even when we are in the place of still not being in the fullness of relationship with him, when we still don't have that heart posture quite there yet. He's not afraid.
Yeah. Well, and to go to that, y'all may not know this, but Raul himself is a pretty good dancer.
No doubt.
I don't think he's brought this up on the program yet.
I wasn't planning on it. I'm so glad you thought we needed to bring it up.
I don't even know, even like in your experiences, like just with that being one of the more relaxing outlets that you have.
Yeah.
Like, how do you think the Lord has...
This was not planned, by the way. Not that we plan everything on this podcast. But
just open up. Like, what does it look like to pursue righteousness? Like, how have you grown through...
Without going on a long tangent and taking it away from the guest star here that we have, I will say that, I'm Colombian by heritage, and so I guess some people would say that it's just in your blood, whatever that means. Culturally, we say that very often, but I mean, that's not true, because if that's the case, my brother clearly has a different DNA. But without being too funny here, it was honestly through this like invitation of something I would never sign up for, which is walking with Christ for, we're talking months and very young to what this even looks like. And I come from a kind of a long let's call it just experience of bars and clubs and everything no one should step into at the age I was stepping into. Like, we're talking 13, 14 years old, counter to what Maddie was going through. I'm doing and living a life that no one should live at the age I was living. But in that, I had this kind of PTSD as I can see the purity that Christ wants to instill me. And then the church invites me to go to what looks like a nightclub, but it's country music, which is another thing I can say at that time just sounded like wildly distasteful for me, because I'm still wrestling with this. I don't even know if I want to be in Texas. And actually, it was a friend of mine in the church. We're both pretty competitive. We're both horrible at this thing called country dancing. He falls, causes a girl to fall on her face. I basically take the wrong step. She trips over. We both kind of make this vow that we're never doing this again. And yet for his birthday, that's what he wants to do again. And this time I come out kind of out of like, why would you choose this to do this? I thought we kind of had a conversation. And he's phenomenal. And so I'd love to tell you I came into this with this love and curiosity, but instead it was probably a competitiveness that it yet still has redemption and hope, because in the pursuit of just trying to get better, because I couldn't wildly grasp the fact that this guy had gone so good and I was now just going to look at this from the sidelines. As you start doing something, and you obviously are starting to walk with Christ too, because that's happening synonymously with me, you start learning, wow, like this can be wildly inappropriate, or it can actually allow you to learn a message that I will say somebody else, incredible girl, kind of brought words to this, which is that dancing is very much how Christ pursues. And I would say in contrast to even how Maddie, because she's, and I'd love for you to go into that in a minute, contemporary ballet, and you go into all these kind of more individualistic expressions of dance. Country dancing is more partner. And she kind of puts words to it and says, well, I believe as a man presents his hand, Christ presents his hand. We reject it or we accept it because we also count the cost of, is that man even prepared to take my hand when he offers his? And meaning he's prepared himself by knowing he's going to have to lead. And in that proper understanding of what leadership looks like, which is gentle, kind, but also strong and firm, I will have confidence so that when he leads me into a move, I will actually very synonymously go into that move gently. And I'm listening to this explanation of what her understanding of dance is, and I'm like, see, now that's why I don't dance with certain girls that have crop tops or will probably touch parts of my body while I'm dancing that I probably don't need them to touch. And just to be honest, and then all of a sudden you start to enjoy dancing through this lens of this visual that honestly this girl brought to my attention, because I can't say I was thinking about it through that lens, where when you ask somebody, you're also thinking, well, I don't just want to enjoy who I'm dancing with. I want to know that in the process and how I lead, that person's going to get something out of this message Christ wants to learn. Because a woman may just learn more about Christ by the way you lead in that time. How much time, how much space, how you communicate while you're dancing, or you just shut off and expect that woman to do what you're telling her to do with your hands, or will you communicate so she feels confident in what she's about to do? And at some point it's synonymous. You don't even have to communicate because you're in sync. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have to ask the Lord if I should get up and read his word. At some point, he doesn't have to even nudge me. Why? Because it's synonymous to what I know brings life to me. Kind of synonymously to how you dance. So, little
very good
side rail, but not my answer. I just borrowed it, but I would say that that has become much of my understanding of dance. It's probably why I enjoy it so much. So hopefully it brings a little meat around the bone in regards to what you're talking about too. Because dance is dance. Creation is creation. By the one who created us, but I'll digress.
I love that. But to get back to your story, so, but also going off of that at the same time, unpack for us in the way that you think is best. 4th grade to your story, kind of to today. While also touching on the specific points of what did it look like to develop an understanding that dance is a service unto the Lord. Because you have like a great servant's heart. We've seen that for close to a decade. You do. And I'm sure that dance has a piece in that. And at the same time, what it looked like to understand that dance is a way of receiving his love. and then the news that you received, like how all of that mixture comes together.
Just in case you remember all of that,
I'll do my best.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was 11 years old, at the time I was at a secular competitive studio. I decided that I wanted more ballet training because I recognized that I was not going to be able to become a professional dancer, which was my dream, unless I had more technique. So I moved over to a ballet academy and trained much more. I went from probably training 20 hours to about 40 hours a week. Maybe not 40, maybe 30. And in that process, I believe was when a lot of fear kind of stepped into my life. And that is down another rabbit hole. However, I will progress and say that when I was 15, I was diagnosed with an extra bone in the back of my ankle that was causing a lot of pain anytime I went on point or really just danced. So I had a surgery to remove the extra bone. When that happened, I was given pain meds after the surgery. I only took one, but it was enough to begin kind of a spiral of some different symptoms. I began experiencing depression. I began gaining weight. I started passing out in classes, couldn't catch my breath, was having a lot more allergic reactions, a lot more like digestive issues, and had no idea what was going on, and was just exhausted all of the time. And I was a very high caliber dancer athlete. And so my mom obviously saw this and was concerned, and so was my director. And for about a year, we searched for a doctor to let us know what was going on, ran a bunch of tests, could not find anything. After a year, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's hypothyroidism, which was an answer to prayer just to know what was going on.
Yeah.
And I was able to work with a functional doctor who is integrative, who was really great and helpful, and began approaching it more as a lifestyle kind of change, where I began changing the way that I ate to cut out some foods that were more inflammatory to my body, changed the way that I sleep, changed the way that I watch TV, how much I was doing that, and also to just had to back away from dancing for a little bit. And at that time, God was faithful to place in my life the woman who was probably, I would consider, my first mentor. She was about 10 years older than me, but also a professional ballerina. And she was the first person that really showed me I can actually hear God for myself. He actually wants to talk to me. He wants to speak to me through his word. And some things started to click in that season of pain, of kind of having to step away from dance a little bit. So I began to start diving into a relationship with the Lord and began to understand, okay, there are some things in my life that are not lining up according to his word and according to just the different things that he asks of us as believers, and started making some changes in my lifestyle spiritually, and saw fruit in that, where I started really, I think, having a hunger for other people to experience what I was, and to know there was a better way of doing life, a more fulfilling and abundant way of life. And after about a year, or I can't remember exactly how long it was, but after some time of being making those changes, I was able to dance a little bit more, and remember like my passion actually just growing for dance so much in that season, even more, where specifically in improvisation, which in dance is where you're not given choreographed movement, you're allowed to fully express yourself based off of musicality, based off of an idea. And I really started connecting with God. I still couldn't quite put words that that's what was happening, but I began connecting with him through movement in that way. And fast forward a couple of years, I was at a women's conference, and for the first time saw actually a professional company that was Christian on the stage. And as I was watching, the Lord totally grasped my heart and was like, that's what I made you for. Like, this is what I made you for. This is excellent. This is worthy of my like my attention. This is worship. And I connected and ended up auditioning for that company. The only reason I auditioned for it was because I was still going through health issues. I had a plan to go to a college in dance, get, I guess, my degree in dance to be able to, after that, go into a company. And because of the health issues still lingering, I needed a little bit more time at home. And so I was able to jump into this company, and that's actually where I met some of my best friends that are still some of my closest friends today. And that's where my whole life changed, because I saw, oh, this is what I'm made for. And that's when the Lord really started I think weeding away the perfectionism and the performance and the comparison, and truly digging into identity and what did I make you for, and how much I love you, and how much more I have for you, and just began answering prayers and bringing true joy. I think that's when I saw like, oh, there's a difference in this joy versus the joy that I was experiencing before. Like this is lighter. Like when I dance, this is lighter. This is fun. And I had teachers that just really poured into me, and that was a huge difference, going from, I would say, being in the ballet studio, and I had amazing teachers who so believed in me, but also at the same time were very concerned about my future, and so would maybe handle things in a different way than was necessarily best for my heart. And so to step into this new studio and home, and to see people that actually cared about, no, there's more. We care about you as a person. We care about you as a daughter. We care about you as Madi. And that's when I really started understanding that, I guess. So I was in that company for 3 years. However, in the midst of that, I went away to a secular dance intensive.
How old are you at this point?
At this point, I am 17 years old.
Okay.
No, I'm 18 years old. 18 at this point.
Okay.
Went away to a summer dance intensive in Chicago. I believed that the Lord was calling me there. However, I look back and I don't think that was the Lord. Not to say it wasn't, but I think I wasn't quite there yet in being able to discern the voice of God quite yet. I wasn't maturity-wise quite there. It was, I think, more stirred up by this passion and this need to like, knowing that the next year that I came back, I felt like I needed to improve and like be better going into the company. So I thought, oh, I have all this experience, and now I know my identity. Let me go be a light, and let me also grow. But I don't know that I was quite yet mature enough to like go in on that by myself. I think it would have been great to have a group of people surrounding me, so I wasn't going in alone. And fear just totally took over when I was there. And that's when, unfortunately, I began delving into a eating disorder. And I also was exposed to mold while I was there. I did not know it.
This was Chicago.
This was in Chicago. I was exposed to mold and had no idea. But over that time, started losing weight, obviously, came back home, and even had some of the people in my corner, explaining that, like, oh, you look great. Like,
oh, hello, Mr. B.
We have a friend.
It's okay.
This is Doggo.
It's okay. For those of you that can hear, that's Mr. B, dog that's always here in the studio with us.
You can continue though, Madi.
Yeah, you're good. So I was at a summer intensive in Chicago, and I remember being around a bunch of different girls who were doing what I thought I was going to be doing, being in professional or I guess in colleges that had major dance programs, like well-known, high up there, and just started comparing myself to that and being like, oh, I'm just a part of this like little small Christian dance company that nobody knows about, like God, and just let the enemy kind of
shrinking down where you're actually at with it.
Exactly. And it just made me insecure, I think, and I was not quite yet built up and ready to know how to battle the voice of the enemy in that way. So that voice of fear, I think, really kind of had me step into a place of, okay, I can't control this, but what can I control? I can control food. I can try to slim down a little bit to fit in more. Maybe people will like me more, see me more, which was not even necessary. And simultaneously, that studio had been flooded, and so I was exposed to mold, but was unaware of it at the time. So I came back after the 6 weeks was done, and was losing weight because I was barely eating, and had people even that were in my corner just being like, oh, you look so great, like you just went away to this, are you ready for the year? You just learned all of these things, kind of encouraging what had just kind of happened.
Which then reaffirms the bad behavior.
Yeah.
Because you're just seeing it all as one equation, like, well, not eating is getting me affirmed.
Yeah.
Not doing what I know is good stewardship for my body is also being affirmed.
Yeah.
Ultimately, this is allowing me to be promoted, so I guess I should just double down on this.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and there was a lot of transition in that season as well. That was a time where I was going into my second year with the company, the Christian dance company here, and Ingredients Dance Company. I love them. I love Michelle Brogan, honor and bless her, and the whole team there. But yeah, it was my second year with them, and and I was moving out of the house, moved into an apartment, I moved churches, I picked up a lot of classes teaching for the first time, and so it was just under a lot of new pressures, I guess, and just it was a lot to adjust to. And meanwhile, I also had this mold exposure that I didn't know about, and I started seeing symptoms come out in my health where I really was like, I'd never really dealt with anxiety, but it was like I was having panic attacks all the time. Depression off the charts, even like having like tremors at moments, and yeah, began like losing hair, was still losing weight, just a lot of different symptoms, and didn't really know what was going on. But at the time, I just thought, this is what I have to do. Like, this is to everybody else, it looks like I'm succeeding, so let me just continue down this path. Nothing must be wrong. This is okay. I just need to fight through it. And about midway through that season, I realized, okay, this is not normal. Like, there's something off. And honestly, I was blind to the eating disorder. In my head, I was just, oh, I don't feel good, so I'm not going to eat as much. I don't need to eat as much. And about halfway through that season, my parents were starting to notice, oh, there's something really off. So I began going back to doctors. That's when I was diagnosed with Lyme disease. Still didn't know about the mold toxicity. And so over the next, I believe it was 9 to 12 months, I did some treatments for that. And meanwhile, was still dancing, still doing everything at the studio, investing in that, and had a lot of people around me that were helping me in that time. But it was definitely a challenge. And I would say at that point was when I really started clinging to the Lord more. I remember with my body kind of starting to disintegrate, it was harder and harder for me to dance. And I should have been able to see that of like, this is not, like, why am I controlling this when I can't even do what I love, you know? But I would sit in the back of the studio. I'd set up these like gym mats and I'd sit back there, and I remember I would journal and I would intercede. Like, I wouldn't just journal for myself. I remember the spirit of intercession came over me, where it wasn't even about me. It was like about what God was doing. And I saw this, like, the Lord begin stirring up in me the prophetic, and in me the spirit of intercession, and in me this love for wanting to like pour into others, because I couldn't actually be physically doing what I loved. Yeah. And so I saw that increase so much, and I saw the fruit of that, and that was amazing. And about 9 to 12 months into that, I would say it was mostly my mom that was helping with those health treatments. Not that my dad wasn't, but my mom was the main one kind of discerning what I needed. And a little bit into that, I moved back home.
Before you do that, though, in transition, because you're kind of now transitioning into this kind of like pivotal, literal. I mean, it's an ever-evolving pivot, because I know I'm aware of it. But paint a picture for you're growing up, and you've set this picture of what you think your life's going to look like based on this gift that you've just gotten uttering confirmation on.
Yeah.
So what would you say your future was supposed to look like based on what you thought before all of this started to shift?
Yeah.
Paint a vivid picture for what your expectations were.
Yeah. And you mean like once I've committed to like worship rather than
no,
the dream
before all of this starts to shift spiritually, you had a picture of what your life was supposed to look like.
Absolutely.
But then suffering comes knocking at your door.
Yeah.
So what does that picture look like?
Yeah.
Because suffering is a beautiful way for the Lord to start refining what life's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
But before that suffering, what was life supposed to look like in Maddie's head?
Yeah. I had absolutely had a dream of really moving to New York City and dancing in a professional company there, and being able to like really see a difference in the kingdom, wherever God sent me, whether that was New York or not. But also, I really loved the company that I was with and was hoping to grow with them, and to continue to get to, I think, travel with them. And we would do tours to different locations where we would minister before hundreds, thousands of kids, and see them encounter the Lord through dance, and them catch the revelation of their gift is actually unto the Lord and is worship unto him, and know their identity and be solid in it. So I was very passionate about like prayerfully like entering into those times where we were traveling and getting to steward those kids and pour into them. And I think that was a huge, huge heart of mine, was the hope of like getting to continue to do that, and to travel. But honestly, like just go wherever God called me and dance to the fullest that I could. was my heart for sure.
But you would say that the suffering had a lot to do with pivoting you from this more self-promotion, performance,
Oh, absolutely.
be an elite expression of what ballet and contemporary dance in that capacity looks
Yeah.
like. And all of a sudden, you got mold,
Yeah.
you got eventually learning what Hashimoto's is going to then
Yeah.
interact with and how it's going to deal with the Lyme situation. And it's just compounding and compounding. And it's like a level of like, as we disregard what we know, things are just happening, but we are so focused on what we think life's supposed to look like is what I'm
Yeah.
trying to get to.
Yeah.
And of course, this walk with Christ is still something that you're there. But it sounds like at some point there was a pivotal moment
Yeah.
where all of that, it's kind of the, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yes.
And until you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, there is usually no change. For some people, they change. For some people, the Lord has to utter in literal change, which I think you're about to get to that kind of hard stop moment. So if you want to kind of lead us into that moment.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I would say it came, I remember my dad walking in the door. I had moved back home and I was literally having practically a seizure on the couch, and my dad seeing me and going, what is happening right now? And he and my mom immediately began researching and found a treatment center in Florida. So my mom and I actually moved to Florida, and I think that was the main moment, because it was like I was still trying to dance, still trying to do everything. And that was the moment where it was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't do both. I literally have to like focus on life right now and give my body some help. And so my mom and I ended up moving to Florida. It was only supposed to be for about 12 weeks, and it ended up being 6 months. And just to paint a little bit of a picture of what that looked like, it was almost structured like a cancer facility, where you've got these huge recliner chairs just like lined up, like rows and rows and rows, and everybody either has a port or a line, a pick, something like that, but you're getting daily infusions based off of what is going on in your body, different tests that they're running pretty much daily. And that was the treatment center that we actually found out, oh, there's mold and it's hit my brain. So now we've got this understanding of, it's not just about my body, but literally this is why I can't think straight. And if you think about it as well, those toxins are going to cling to the fattiest part of your body. I was experiencing an eating disorder. I had no fat on my body. So where's the fattiest part? Your brain. Literally could not think straight. Had this, my main symptom that I had was brain on fire, where literally it felt like my brain was on fire. And so daily you're getting infusions to detox the mold or the Lyme. Meanwhile, I'm also doing colonics about 4 days a week. I am having blood tests and urine tests and being weighed and massages and lymphatic treatments and just about everything you can experience. But it's all stuff that's kind of pulling everything out, nothing that it's replenishing.
Yeah.
So, meanwhile, all this is going on, and I would say that is when I came to know the Holy Spirit at a whole new capacity, because I had no choice but to literally cling to him, because I hate needles, I'm afraid of needles, and I'm literally getting poked daily with a needle in my chest. And so literally I remember being in the room and the nurse accessing my port for the first time and just having to pray in the Spirit to get through it. And really watch the Holy Spirit develop this relationship with him, where when I was so weak, he was the only thing I was holding on to. But daily I'm getting these infusions, and it was like the Lord set it up where what should be the most depleting thing was actually I was listening to worship music, I was reading prophetic words, I was journaling, I was focusing on the future that God had for me outside of dance. I was focusing just on him and me. And as I was doing that, this boldness came up in me, where the season of me being weakest was the time that I was the most bold. I would go up and there would be a woman next to me who literally would be seizing and could not stop, and they were about to come over and basically give her a medicine that would help calm that down, and I would pray and the seizures would stop. Or there would be a little girl that was 7 years old coming in with the highest levels on mold on her chart, and the Lord would download a whole prophetic word for her about her future, where he was giving me visions to give to her mom to say, hey, this is actually the future the Lord has for your daughter. There's actually more than this. This is not the reality. This seems like the reality, but there is more that he has for her. And so the Lord was using me in that time, and there was this willingness and this heart and compassion that he was developing in me as I was there. And also simultaneously, it reminds me of Psalms, I cannot remember the reference, but it says, like, if I make my bed in hell, you will be there. And like literally that was a season of hell for me. That was the bottom, the lowest of the lows. And he was there with me and he was meeting me. And it was that season of suffering that literally intimacy developed so much. And also, God is a supernatural God. And he really opened my eyes to see that and to know that and to experience him in new ways. And in his grace, halfway through that season was when he opened my eyes to see, I'm not feeding myself. Why am I not eating? Like, why am I doing that myself? And I was able to go to my mom and say, Mom, I think I need help. Like, I don't know how to eat. I'm scared to eat. I'm afraid to eat. And sure enough, like walking through that, it was not just a quick like, oh, everything was fixed in the next day. I'll fast forward a little bit, and about 6 months into...
Before you do that, though, to not be so ambitious with time, I want to ask you, would you say that as you're sitting in this hospital, lined up with a whole bunch of people that are probably just survival, including yourself, and I know, because I know your story, there are points of this entire process of being in the hospital, and I think we're going through it swiftly because we need to. But there are points when you literally felt like you weren't going to walk out of that hospital.
No doubt.
And in the literal understanding that I may die, or I may not walk out of here and be completely functionally normal, what the world would say. Would you say that you were more fearful about the fact that you were about to maybe lose your physical life, or the fact that you may you may actually stay alive, but forfeit the life you'd expected, which is what we were talking about a minute ago? Like, what was a bigger fear? Had the life you've built up been completely okay for you to forfeit, considering you kind of had that headspace you've shared with me? Or were you really just like, I just want to stay alive. I don't care if I don't get to dance again. Like, what was worse for you mentally?
The worst part for me was not knowing if I would ever not be in pain and suffering, because it felt like a never-ending journey of pain and suffering. And so that was the scariest part to me, was not knowing how I was going to get out of that, because nothing was working. Everything just seemed to keep getting worse. And so,
It's interesting when pain and suffering can exceed even the promise and plan, because you're in such levels of pressure that even the hope and this passion and desire you have for your life almost dwindles down to the Job level, is how most people describe it, which is, can I just get some reprieve? Like, the most hydrating, nutritional thing you can do for me right now, Lord, is just pause. Like, can I get a pause? I don't care if I dance again. I don't care if I get on a stage again. But can you just let me breathe for a minute? And I think that that's something that you have just shared a minute ago, which is what allowed you to then, which is what I'd love to transition into, is not the present, because I don't even know if we'll even get to the literal present, but to the question. I don't know if, Chase, if you want to go for it. Like, what it was, because what I know about you is that what was harder, that hospital, or knowing you got out of that hospital and now you just had to watch from the bleachers? The life that you desired, the life that you hoped for, your body, physical, body image and such. Like, what was more suffering, that hospital 6 months, or the mental turmoil that comes after you get out and you're watching kind of your life through this mirror? Like, I'd love for you to kind of walk that person that's watching through that, because there's hope and redemption in your story. I know
absolutely.
it.
Oh, no doubt about it.
I mean, you're here.
Yes, I'm more than here. No doubt about it. I think with as bad as it was, I didn't have capacity to even think about a future, if that makes sense. All I could think about was surviving one day at a time. And it wasn't until we kind of stepped back into being at home that God kind of, I feel like, took the reins. We kind of had to give him the reins, because it was like we had put everything we had into these 6 months. Didn't work. What do we do now? And came back home. And that was when I think true surrender happened. And it was like, okay, like, I'm just going to take this one day at a time. We're not going to pursue any treatments. We're just literally going to trust God. And it was like we stopped listening for what's the next best thing to do. How do we fix this? Like, striving to like, okay, no, like we're going to be in the suffering and we're going to wait on God. And that's where he began meeting me, was literally in my bedroom, like inner healing. I couldn't sleep, so he would come meet me and he would come talk to me, and he would walk me through what the trauma that I had just experienced over years and show me where he was. And he would begin to speak to me about the future that he did have for me, and really renew and restore my mind. I feel like that was a huge game changer, was going back to the brain, recognizing God actually made us where we can create new neural pathways. So how do I change my way of thinking according to scripture to believe all these things that he has said in his word about my life? And I began to envision myself in these different places with him. And he literally took me on this healing journey where he would take me into the garden, and he would take me into different parts of heaven, and he would take me even back to my childhood, or just different rooms, like showing me the blood, showing me that I'm covered in the blood. There was a huge revelation of that in that season, showing me as his bride. And really also too showing me, I think this is fast forwarding a little bit maybe into your next question, but it was in that season as well that I remember we have a dance studio in our house. I went in there, literally was like T90, had barely any strength. But I was like, Lord, I'm just going to do a few plies. It's been years since I've danced, a year probably at least since I've danced, 2 years maybe even. And he met me supernaturally in that moment. I had an open vision where I could see all of heaven around me as I was literally doing plies in my studio. And it was like it clicked in that moment where I had this knowledge and this revelation of I was literally made to dance because I commune with my Father when I dance, period. That's it. Dance is communion with my Father. This is how I talk to him. This is how he talks to me. This is what I was made for. Dance is not for any other purpose but this. Anything else is fruit and is of his doing that comes from that. And that's when I received, I believe, also his heart and his passion. It was already there, but he started illuminating me and teaching me and training me in the secret place for what I would do later, teaching and raising up kids with that revelation of, you weren't just given this gift of dance for nothing. You were given it because literally the God of all gods, the King of all kings, wants to talk to you, wants to love you, wants to get to know you and reveal himself to you through this dance that you've been given. And it has so much more power than you even know, because you have the Holy Spirit inside of you, and he's able to do abundantly more, and literally is the best dancer there ever is. So I just imagine when you submit your gift to him, what's going to come out through you. And so I would say it was in that season that really that heart was established. And also I had really faithful friends who, in a season where I was literally, they talk about wilderness seasons. That was absolutely a wilderness season where I had social anxiety, I had OCD. I was not willing to put myself in any social environment. It just made me scared.
Let me paint a picture, guys. So I meet Maddie like close to a decade ago. Always walks in with a lunchbox. I don't understand why. She's in her 20s and no one walks with a lunchbox. To my primitive mind of walking in with Christ, that's not the dad joke moment where he's about to take us to a dad joke moment. And she walks in with a lunchbox. And of course, my non-church self, I'm thinking, we're not in preschool. What is happening right now? And yes, to not get to the literal physical, I mean, she is tiny. I mean, just a small t-shirt was probably floating on you due to the fact of just everything you'd walk through. But no one knows what she's walked through. So somebody's like, well, she's got some condition. You better shut up. Don't talk about it. Act like it's not happening. Act like the lunchbox is not in your hand. But that's just not me. I had to like literally be like, so why do you have a lunchbox? And it's funny because I remember that moment we're in a restaurant and I'm like, and you're like, well, I could see you're like, I'm going to do my best to respond to this question. But it allowed me to share with you some of my walk. And then it started to cultivate a little bit of a conversation and a little bit of a, what I call like relational equity of kind of means for me to give you a little more because you give me a little more, and kind of a means of a conversation to the deepest, hardest part of your walk. But not to rabbit trail, is more to say like she truly was in this place of just like, I will be here for 15 minutes. It was so good to meet you guys. I know I just got here. I will eat what I brought in my lunchbox. And I want to just say that it was so good to meet you all. And no one knew her. nothing happened, and yet through time,
Yeah.
you get to know somebody.
But it's that little step of 15
That's
minutes
right.
was a huge leap for me.
And no one knew that.
Nobody
but
knew.
You're still choosing it.
Yes, exactly. And it was those small wins. I mean, small wins of, I'm going to let my mom cook my food today. Like, that was a huge release thing, you know?
Yeah.
Small wins of, I don't know, just saying yes to things that I would not say before. And just little things where, okay, I'm going to be bold. I'm going to practice boldness. I'm going to go to this outreach. I think I was still in that season when I went to my first Deep Love outreach back before it was even on Freedom and Worship's land.
Yeah. Side strip, side of the road, illegally set up. We didn't know anything. We just did our best to serve those that needed to be served in a time when no one was serving.
Yeah.
And Maddie calls me or messages me through Facebook and says, I have a whole bunch of clothes.
Oh, that's right.
I don't really know if you're still doing that thing that I keep seeing you doing. I hope you're well. And I said, and it's interesting because I can just take myself back. Maddie was like, honestly, this is going to sound weird, but it's just how I've always, like at that time, not now, she was like a unicorn in my head. Because I'm like, well, first of all, why are you talking to me? I have way too many edges. I'm going to pop the bubble that I think that you're trying to protect people from. And I'm the guy that's going to pop it. If it's anyone else, there are safer people to be around. And yet she's reaching out to go into a place where there is nothing but probably sharp objects and sharp people and sharp conversations. And it honestly uttered in a level of respect in me. Because for those that will step into things that people don't, I mean, you and me have this conversation often. And then they do it willingly, let alone when most of us, including myself, would say, you don't have to do that. You're okay. And you did it anyways. For a span of time in the trenches is honestly something that should sober up people that have 100 excuses. And you had actually good excuses. And you still stepped into, I mean, I remember she literally said, I'll go with you on that, outreach, which entailed our freeze in the bus to go into a women's shelters where there's nothing but prostitutes and probably a lot more happening in that dynamic. And she's just walking in like it's just another thing that you would do on a Sunday evening. And again, just not just respect, but a response of what you had walked through. Just again, another acknowledgement of what suffering can actually produce.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anything else can produce that kind of confidence.
Yeah.
Outside of, I don't know.
You see people in a different way when you've walked through suffering. Like you see that they're more than just a person and what it is on the outside, that there's stuff going on deeper than what they're sharing and what they're showing, and that it matters, and that somebody needs to ask them or take the time to actually look at them and like engage with them and listen and not just be the one to talk, and it gives you the respect and the conviction and the desire to do that and to go, you're worth it. Like, I don't know who you are, but God does.
Yeah.
And he loves you a lot. So how can I be there for you right now? Even if it's just a simple thing of smiling at you or asking how you are or tying your shoe because you are not there mentally to tie your shoe.
That's right.
Whatever it is. So
Yeah, exactly. So as we start to land the plan, we'll have you on for probably 4 more episodes at some point to be able to break everything down and talk more. Maybe have your mom or dad on as well. That'd be cool.
I actually have
Rob
have
both of them
on my list, actually.
That's amazing.
Have the whole family panel. That'd be
great.
Great.
Why not?
One question I'm interested in is what made you want to serve during that season where you could have just focused on like, oh, let me just only take care of myself. Like this is probably an adequate excuse to be able to check out of serving. What motivated you to want to do that, and what did it mean to serve to you during that season?
Yeah. I think knowing what suffering was like and knowing that we were going to reach people who were suffering, I just carried that heart of compassion and love and desire to be able to like reveal hope to them in any way that I could, of even knowing that going through what I was, there was a deeper and greater power and redemption story and restoration and love and joy to know that I was experiencing God in the midst of it, and I wanted them to experience him in the midst of it too. Because I look back now on that season, and I have friends that are walking through even similar health journeys right now. Literally the other day I messaged a friend and I said, count it all joy. Like literally count it all joy, because I look back and that is the most precious season I have in my life. It is the most intimate season I have. It is the most treasured season. I would not go back and change it. I would not. I don't regret it. And I would go through it all again because of what I gained. Because I gained Christ, intimate knowledge with him, and it forever changed the way that I worship, the way that I do life. And so knowing that if God can do that for me, hey, how can I help reveal that to another person too, for them to know that there is that hope? And ultimately knowing like that's what Christ did for us. He got low, he washed other people's feet. I want to grow in that. It was as simple as that too. I want to become more like Christ. That's why I'm serving.
We said this at the beginning. What do you do when the future you built takes a hard pivot, and then you find out through suffering, through the process, through that James 1:2-5, through counting it pure joy, that through the trials of many kinds that you will walk through that if the perseverance that you allow to work itself out through you, and that completes itself with saying that you will be made perfect. Another translation is made mature. Another translation says that you will miss and have nothing missing, right? To know that, because it's a promise, but you cannot find that completion, perfection, or uttering understanding of satisfaction unless you walk and persevere through the process. Would you say that, in light of Chase's question that he just asked you about serving, that the life that he pivoted you into is the life that you would take 10 times over for that person listening?
Absolutely, without a doubt, not a question.
Would you give them a quick preview of what your life looks like now for those that think, so does that mean I have to forfeit dance? Does that mean I have to forfeit? For the person watching, forfeiting whatever that looks like, my music, my expression of dance, my expression of singing, whatever that looks like, for those that are just creatives, or for those that are listening that are just watching it through the lens of hopelessness and endurance and perseverance, and saying, okay, so what does that mean? She doesn't look like she's dying, but what is that hope on a tangible level? Because we're sitting here before you right now.
Yeah. I'm being reminded of the scripture that God gave me when I was in Florida that I held on to and was constantly asking him about, which is John 10:10, the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but I come that you may have life and have it abundantly. And that's his promise. And so holding on to that promise, and I see that in my life now, where I am not doing at all what I am doing what I desire to do, but it looks a lot different than what I thought, in the way of, I remember there was one night where I could not sleep, and I just remember crying to my mom and being like, I have so many gifts, so many desires, all these things that I want to do, and I don't even know how they all fit together, and at the same time, I can't even do any of them right now. And here I am now. I'm in literally my dream job. I teach dance. I do administrative work for our studio. I stage manage productions. I get to eat a lot more food than I ever have before. A lot of food allergies have gone away. I'm still navigating different health things, but I can say that I'm navigating it in a different way. My relationship with the Lord is far surpassed what I ever thought was possible. He's the ultimate reward, and
That's right.
The ultimate treasure in all of it. I get to minister. I see the Lord open doors for me to speak and for me to pour into the next generation and pour into other women, and to really, I think, continue to redeem and restore my testimony of things that I've walked through, where I can literally see the flip side of it. And and really enjoy living. Like, I enjoy life. I don't just survive. I'm thriving. And so that is the hope, and that's his promise. I absolutely could not see it at the time, but he's done it for me. Yeah.
Amen.
Any last questions or any words of encouragement?
No, I think that's for the next episode.
Cliffhanger.
Yeah, right. Considering there's so much in light of what you have become that I've got to witness. Because if you could see a picture of who Madi was when I met her and who's sitting right here, it would shock every part of your brain. It would set a new narrow pathway of hope for you if you could just see the picture
Yeah.
of who she was, and still heralding God and the Lord in every capacity, yet the way she gets to do it is with permission because of what she walked through. I would say no, I think we are good, but I'll let you close us out.
Yeah, no, Maddie, we really appreciate the time. We really appreciate your consistency with Deep Love as well. You've been one of the people who's been around from the very start, you and your mother. Y'all are absolute cornerstones in everything that we as a group have been able to do. And like, I just know and remember from so many times, like, people that you formed relationships with, like on the streets and in the different places we served in, being happy and knowing you by name and you knowing them by name, which is crazy because of how impersonal that ministry can get at times. So yeah, we honor you and thank you for that. And yeah, thank you for the time. We hope it was enjoyable.
So fun. Thank you.
Good.
Wouldn't want to do it with anybody else.
Good. Well, yeah. Well, y'all, thank y'all so much for tuning in. We hope that this testimony was really encouraging, really challenging as well, that there were some resonant things y'all were able to take away from it. We're going to be linking some of Maddie's maybe contact info, email, something, Instagram, something like that.
Forerunners, whatever she wants to, you know.
Yes, all of that will be plugged in so that if y'all want to reach out to her with just hearing any more about her journey before the next episode comes out with her in, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks, who knows. But before any of that comes out, if you want to hear about any more of her health journey, more of her faith story, and just have questions, that you'd be able to reach out to her. As well, somewhere on this screen is going to pop up our website towards the end of this video. Please reach out to us with any sort of request to join us on any of our outreaches that are coming up, and let us know just what city you live in, where you're watching from, and if you're interested in serving in any of those cities, we can reach out to some of our local partners in those places to be able to connect y'all with them. Comment as well, where you're listening from. We can maybe come out there to be able to do just a serve opportunity for ourselves.
Yeah, and the easiest way to support, guys, is to click that button, says subscribe. It doesn't help us further our message, it helps further his message. It helps further the story that he ushered in through her. She's just the mouthpiece that he's sharing it through. A story that will be communicated 100 different ways, which is a story that requires suffering, requires pain, but ushers in the most beautiful thing, which is hope and faith in the one that walks through it and then produces the most beautiful thing, which you hopefully got from Maddie's story. So subscribe so that message can go further, and then comment in what and how, in which way this story just ministered to you, because honestly, that is why we're doing this. It is not to make our names known. We hopefully not, want to make anyone else's name famous but his. So thank you for tuning in, and we hope to see you again.
Yeah, and we also give a thank you to David and the Launchbox production team for producing this episode for us. So Maddie, thank you again.
Thank you.
And yeah, until next time, much love. God bless.
God bless you.